Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed your dinner. I've already said so much nice about Mayor Dutkiewicz that if I said anything more, he might not invite me back. Let me just say, a friend of freedom, a friend of the Atlantic Council, a great transatlanticist, and an incredible entrepreneur as mayor of this vibrant and successful region, Mayor Rafał Dutkiewicz.
Thank you very much. That was the choice for our American friends to cut visas or to make Fred talking shorter, and the choice was to make him talking shorter, unfortunately. Ladies and gentlemen, for the last 5 years, we have been discussing important matters in Wrocław during Wrocław Global Forum. It is also the 5th time that we will present the Freedom Awards distinctions that enjoy considerable worldwide recognition, awarded to people and institutions who had particular contribution in promoting freedom, human rights, and civil liberties. Central and Eastern Europe is especially indebted to people who will receive awards tonight. We thank the President of Estonia, Mr. Toomas Hendrik Ilves, for driving the Baltic republics to regaining their independence. We thank the former Prime Minister of Hungary, Mr. Miklos Németh, for his contribution to the fall of the Berlin Wall. We thank the people of Maidan, represented by Rusłana, Pavlo Šeremeta, and Katerina Kruk, for their fights for democratic values and the achievements of over 23 years of independence of Ukraine. We thank the former long-standing ambassador of Poland in Washington, Mr. Jerzy Koźmiński, for his contribution to Poland's joining NATO. And we also thank the Polish-American Freedom Foundation, run by Mr. Koźmiński, for its social, political, and cultural activity in support of various civic processes and development of democracy, especially in the Eastern Europe. I thank all the award winners for their determination and courage, for constant reminding democracy should not be taken for granted. Those values must be protected even when this might sometimes require paying a high price. Attempts at depriving free people of democracy should be met, and most often are met, with resistance. Let's listen to the account of one of the participants of the protest at Maidan in Kiev. Everyone hoped that after the Orange Revolution in 2004, there would not be any riots and beating people on the streets in Ukraine again. The Ukrainians are very patient, but we will never allow and never forget the hurting of our dignity and shedding our children's blood on the streets. We believe that in the European family, where there is freedom, justice, and order, where everyone has equal rights, we will not need to come out to the streets to fight for these values fundamental to every human being. We believe in it too. This is why we are here tonight. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Maciej Witucki, Chairman of the Supervisory Group Orange Polska. Szanowni Państwo, powitajmy pana Macieja Wituckiego, Przewodniczącego Rady Nadzorczej Orange Polska.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a bit unusual to have somebody introducing the person who's introducing. But as the person who's introducing is so important, we couldn't afford to not have this short speech on behalf of the Atlantic Council. We speak about the person, and there's few of them who have been influencing and who are still influencing the fate of the world as much as Zbigniew Brzeziński. Professor Brzeziński, through his personal engagement, books, and through his influence on the US foreign policy, have been changing and still is keeping changing the world into a place with more democracy and more freedom. There were probably no other strategists who influenced this many of the presidents. It was Brzeziński, as a security advisor in Jimmy Carter's administration, who created the foundation of the politics towards the Eastern Europe, of the new politics towards the Eastern Europe. It was thanks to Zbigniew Brzeziński that American foreign politics focused on supporting democracies and civil liberties. We owe a lot to Professor Brzeziński, we Poles especially. For all his life, he kept putting his heart into the Polish well-being. He had become American, but he kept fighting for a place of Central and Eastern Europe in the conscience of America and of the world. It needs as well to be mentioned that it was Professor Brzeziński's initiative to found the Polish-American Freedom Foundation, aiming to support civil society, democracy, and free market in Poland, but not only in Poland, as well in the countries of our region. That the fact that we host Professor Brzeziński exactly now, while all the world, and we have seen it during today's discussions, turns the eyes towards Ukraine, is very symbolic. In the past, Professor Brzeziński used to say that Russia is the younger brother of Ukraine. Even in December 2013, he kept repeating a quote, "It's rather sooner than later when Ukraine becomes a true part of democratic Europe. It's rather later than sooner when Russia follows in its footsteps, unless it becomes isolated and becomes an imperialistic relic plunged deeply in its stagnation." Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage member of the International Advisory Board of the Atlantic Council, great Pole, great American, and great Atlanticist, Professor Zbigniew Brzeziński. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we live at a time in which we're all being tested. And I think it is accurate to say, even though it may sound shocking to say, that Vladimir Putin is doing us a favor. He has reminded us that freedom is a treasure that requires courage in order to sustain it. And he's teaching us that democracy is a treasure that requires sustained, hard commitment to make it thrive. Yes, I know there are disagreements in the West today, but they are disagreements on how best to oppose him. And I have very little doubt that we will oppose him. I certainly know for a fact that the United States is determined to oppose him, and I'm absolutely confident that we and our allies will convince him, one way or another, that the adventure on which he has embarked is not going to be profitable. And he also reminds us that democracy is not a free gift of history to any chosen people. It requires a sustained commitment to make it work. So today, in a way, in honoring the American Polish Freedom Foundation, we're honoring both courage and commitment to freedom and a sustained effort to make it work. I'll not speak at length about the foundation because it has already been mentioned, but let me merely say briefly that it has involved a sustained effort to make democracy work by deepening the institutions of freedom and making them work on the basis of political compromise. It is an institution that has contributed directly to the modernization of the Polish social scene, of Polish education, and especially of Polish countryside, by modernizing access to computers, by teaching foreign languages, by encouraging the institutionalization of democratic procedures on the lower levels of society, local government, by teaching young people foreign languages, and by creating computerized libraries throughout the entire country, accessible to the people so that they can enrich their understanding of themselves and of the world in which they live. And last but not least, from the very inception, that institution organized an ambitious effort to share the Polish experience in doing these things with its neighbors to the east, and especially Ukraine. Today, Ukraine faces the challenge of freedom, and it faces the challenge to institutionalize democracy. The endowment that operates in Poland as a foundation has contributed to making that prospect more likely than ever before, despite the dangers and the challenges that we face today. Poland was also very lucky, and so were we from America, in having at the helm of the foundation someone who's extraordinarily talented, as you will shortly see, who's energetic, who looks forward, and who's dedicated. He played a major role in furthering Poland's entrance into NATO. And he has led the foundation from day one and made it a truly innovative institution, so much so that the very generous gifts of the American people to that foundation are now being matched by American foundations that exist otherwise and who find it worthwhile to contribute to this endowment because it is so effective in its activities. And that is thanks very much to the person that you will hear very shortly. So simply bear this in mind. We have become a little bit indifferent over the years. We have been taking democracy for granted. We have ceased to be concerned about other people's security. Someone, somewhere, unintentionally, has given us a wake-up call. I am convinced we're answering to it, that we'll answer effectively, and that freedom and democracy will thrive. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Minister, Senators, it's my distinct privilege to be here tonight to receive this important award of the Atlantic Council for the Polish-American Freedom Foundation. The honor is greatly augmented by the fact that the introductory remarks, and I'm embraced humbly by them, have been delivered by an outstanding international figure and a man who has a very special place in the hearts and minds of Polish people everywhere. And today, when we celebrate the 25th anniversary of a free and democratic Poland, as well as the events that paved the way for other countries of Central and Eastern Europe towards freedom, democracy, and the market economy, we owe a great debt of gratitude to Zbigniew Brzezinski for his extraordinary role in the dismantling of the Yalta Order. I'm delighted that all his contributions to that historic process, as well as subsequent great achievements, will be duly acknowledged and honored tomorrow here in Wrocław. I'm embracing this prestigious award of the Atlantic Council for the Polish-American Freedom Foundation as a token of recognition to hundreds of Polish NGOs born after '89 that have closely cooperated with us during those 14 years of our foundation's activity. It is thanks to our excellent Polish partners that we're able here in Poland to fund 25,000 scholarships, train 20,000 civic leaders, increase competences and skills of 40,000 teachers, carry out 10,000 local projects fostering social advancement. And last but not least, it is thanks to our excellent Polish partners that we're able to share Poland's experience in transformation and in European integration with almost 7,000 young people who came to our country, mostly from Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, Georgia, and Moldova, but also from Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Kazakhstan. And as a result, we're able to fulfill our original double mission, which was to help consolidate the changes triggered by the Polish breakthrough in '89, as well as to share what Poland had learned after '89 with other countries of the region. I'm embracing this award of the Atlantic Council for the Polish-American Freedom Foundation with a sense of gratitude to our founding father, the Polish-American Enterprise Fund, which was established in 1990 with the crucial involvement of Zbigniew Brzezinski. Had it not been for that great success story of the fund, our foundation could not have been created. And this brings me to a broader point. While celebrating the 25th anniversary of Poland's freedom that had its beginning in the Great Solidarity movement, we must recall the profound American support given to the Polish people at the critical leg of our journey into the 21st century. It was support that the US gave us in '89 to arrange the stabilization fund that enabled Poland to introduce convertibility of its currency. It was support that the US gave us to reduce the Polish foreign debt that was stifling our fragile economy. It was support from experts who helped Poland build market economy institutions. It was support behind a number of other programs aimed at bringing about necessary changes, including those in the military. And finally, it was US leadership that made it possible for Poland 15 years ago to anchor itself in NATO and thus to join the Euro-Atlantic community of free and democratic nations sharing the same values. I know that many of you present here tonight were among those strongly championing Poland's cause, Polish membership in NATO, strongly championing the NATO enlargement process. Our special words of thanks should go to Senator McCain, Zbigniew Brzezinski, Dan Fried, Pola Dobriański, Sandy Wierzbo, Steve Mull, Fred Kemp since 1980, and other active supporters of freedom. And tonight, while recalling the role that America played in the 90s to help fulfill the aspirations of Central Europeans, we should underline the growing need for US involvement again. We are doing so in a time when dramatic developments in and around Ukraine in recent months raised the specter of aggressive policies that should have belonged only to a bygone era. It is in this context that I wish to recognize the Atlantic Council for all its efforts aimed at placing the Ukrainian cause high on the international agenda, as well as for all its work to strengthen transatlantic bonds that are a crucial pillar for security and prosperity for our both continents and beyond. Concluding my thank you note, I'd like to cordially congratulate all the distinguished recipients of this year's Freedom Award, those who have already been honored and those who will follow soon. And I'd like to express my warmest feelings of solidarity with our Ukrainian friends present here tonight, as well as to wish them every success in all their endeavors to cope with great challenges they face. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Radosław Sikorski, Foreign Minister of Poland. Szanowni Państwo, powitajmy Radosława Sikorskiego, Ministra Spraw Zagranicznych Rzeczpospolitej Polskiej.
Dobry wieczór. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I was just reminded why I always agree with Zbigniew Brzezinski. In this case, I agree with him on Vladimir Putin. I agree that we have words of gratitude to Vladimir Putin. He's helped my party win the recent European elections. He has reinvigorated NATO, and he has even helped us to convince the finance minister to increase Poland's defense spending to 2% of GDP. What's not to like? But joking apart, in the lives of nations, large nations such as Ukraine, this, I think, is as dramatic as it gets. We are witnessing a moment at which we can imagine a path for Ukraine that makes Ukraine like Poland in terms of prosperity and in terms of European future. But we can also imagine a path that makes Ukraine like Syria. And I'm wondering how we got here. And I look back to what happened last year. And I have to confess to you that I was really annoyed with President Yanukovych when he failed to sign that association agreement that Poland worked so hard to get for Ukraine inside the European Union. It was during the Polish presidency that we closed the text. And it was until the last days before the Vilnius summit of the Eastern Partnership that we worked to convince our partners to be ready to sign the association agreement. And then along comes President Yanukovych and says, no, I won't sign it. Even though just several days before he was promising me in Kiev that he would sign it, come what may. Come what may, the Russian boycott and whatever happens to some of the decisions on political prisoners in Ukraine. And many thought that this was it, that Ukraine had made its choice, that Ukraine was going with the customs union and eventually the Eurasian Union, and that the people of Ukraine would be bribed with, admittedly, a very generous financial package presented by the Russian Federation. And both President Yanukovych and President Putin underestimated the people of Ukraine. The people of Ukraine started to demonstrate in the Maidan in December. I don't know why. We do our revolutions in August. The Ukrainians seem to do them in the middle of the winter. But thereby showing how determined they are. I went to Ukraine at the beginning of Maidan, and I went there again in February, during the toughest confrontation between the authorities and the people of Maidan. You know, we politicians like to talk tough, usually in the security of a television studio. But imagine what it's like to be tough, to actually stand in the cold for weeks, and then to know that there are snipers out there aiming their weapons at you and actually killing people standing next to you. And this is what the people on the Maidan withstood, resisted, and that's why they succeeded. The people of Maidan were very diverse, from all walks of life and from various ethnic backgrounds. I think some of the first people who were killed were an Armenian and a Pole. And also from the different walks of life. And I'm very glad that today we'll be awarding the Freedom Award to Katerina Kruk, who was the spokesman for Maidan at that time and who many of us followed for reliable news of the Maidan, and who is now the spokesperson for the Ukrainian government. And Ruslana, the beautiful Ruslana, who sang on the Maidan until she lost her voice and kept up the spirit of the people. And I remember the last time I met Ruslana. It was on the 21st of February, the day we signed the agreement. We negotiated all night, literally all night, and we agreed to meet again to sign, I think at 9 o'clock. But 9 o'clock came, and we weren't signing, because not all the signatories were there. And eventually we heard that one of the opposition leaders, Vitaly Klitschko, who is now mayor of Kiev, couldn't be with us, but good luck to him, had difficulty in persuading the Maidan Rada to sign the agreement. And eventually he persuaded Frank-Walter Steinmeier and myself to come and meet the Maidan Rada to try to get them to agree. And I have to tell you, it wasn't an easy sell, because we were basically telling them to sign an agreement to maintain in power until December a president who, just the day before, ordered the murder of 100 of their comrades. And Ruslana was one of the people who asked searching questions about whether this is really necessary. But Frank-Walter and I knew that if they don't sign, there were already troops being assigned to the Interior Ministry to drown the Maidan in blood. And if the Maidan didn't sign, Yanukovych and his people would get an alibi, both for the West and, more importantly, for their own repression apparatus, that, look, I tried to get a deal. I was ready to dilute my powers. I was ready to shorten my term of office, and these people have rejected it. Therefore, we have to crack down. Well, I'm very glad that after a stormy meeting, the Maidan Rada voted 35-2 to accept the agreement. Because I knew that once a leader like Yanukovych shows weakness, his own camp, his own chain of command tends to weaken. And I thought he would lose power within weeks. Well, we know what happened. He lost power and skipped town within hours. But this doesn't detract from the courage and from the wisdom of the people of Maidan at that particular moment. And thanks to that, they are now winning again, because they have a democratically elected president. They are at last carrying out reforms and carrying out the agreed package with the IMF and receiving a very substantial amount of foreign assistance. And above all, they are being galvanized as a nation to defend their country from foreign first annexation and now terrorist penetration. And so I think with luck and with people like this, Ukraine can get to where Poland is today. And we are all here, I think, friends of liberty and therefore friends of Ukraine. And therefore it's my great honor and pleasure to award the Freedom Award to Ruslana, and to Katerina Krok.
I am 23 years old, just like my beloved Ukraine. And it seems to me that this year, both of us have learned the most important lesson of our lives. This lesson is really very simple. Life of a single person and the very existence of the single country makes sense only when you fight for freedom, dignity, and justice. This award goes to the people of Maidan, for those who have dreamed, for those who didn't give up, for those who knew how to forgive, for those who were never afraid, for those who stood for freedom and justice, for those who have sacrificed their lives, and for those who gave us the privilege to be able to say, I am Ukrainian, and I am proud of it.
Witaj Polska, jestem szczęśliwa wystąpić na takiej imprezie w takim wyjątkowym towarzystwie. Ukraina jak zawsze wybiera pokój. Ukraina wierzy w to, że politycy za naszą wschodnią granicą też wybierzą pokój. Maidan started, but not finished. Unfortunately, we felt the breath of the evil, of war, and that very close. Maidan defeated not only Yanukovych, but Yanukovych's gangster corruption system. Today we want peace. Today we have to defeat not only Putin, but his system. Putin's system bear war, terrorism, separatism, violence, drugs, weapons, murder, gangsterism, corruption, and lying. Putin's system made a place where new technologies of war are created in the east of Ukraine. Today, Kadyrov prepared 74,000 soldiers against Kyiv. Yanukovych stole all money from Ukrainians. He ran away, but before opened prisons, so that we were killed by criminals. 2 days ago in Slavyansk, the family my friends knew was shot. Other family buried their son. He died of drug overdose. The drugs were brought to Slavyansk by terrorists. In the same place, terrorists are raping girls. This is Putin's image and his system. Are you ready to buy Putin's gas? And while in warmth, watching Ukrainians being murdered and the war marching towards to you. The West world and Poroshenko are obliged to unite and together stop war and Putin's system. Sanction. While you look for compromises, people are being murdered in Ukraine every day. Politicians of the world, call things by proper names, by their proper names. Peace will come if you stop the evil, a violence and source of war. Be decisive. Your choice between white and black. No compromises. Compromises are impossible. Mr. Putin, you destroyed Slavic history and fraternal peoples who fought together against fascism. Kievan Rus is mother of Slavs and the source of peace. Our purpose, independence, energy independence, informational independence. Switch on your flashlights if you want to stop the war. This is Lights of Freedom.
Ще не вмерла України ні слава, ні воля. Ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці. Запануєм і ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Нашей вольнощі покажем, і же ж ми браття з козацького роду. Jeszcze Polska nie zginęła, ще не вмерла Україна.
Please, Ruslan, please stay. At the end of every one of these incredibly inspirational evenings. We ask the introducers and we ask the awardees please to come to the stage for a family photograph. While they're coming, I just want to say a couple of things in closing. First of all, for you who have been here before, you know you want to go to the fountain show. For you that haven't been here, you can't go home without saying that you've seen the fountain show. It's really an incredible way to end the evening, continue your conversations, and raise a toast privately to these speakers. I also want to thank the Atlantic Council team as they're coming up that are here on site. Fran Burwell, Damon Wilson, Michal Kabosco, Julie Varghese, Diane Zeleny, Iveta Kruma, Drew Dixon, Talina Nani, and Max Chupersky, Sarah Bedenbaugh, Eric Gaiman, Ian Hansen, Daria Ajerov. This is what we stand for. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your incredible work. And as our champions of freedom gather here, I want to thank them once again for their courage, everything you've done to advance freedom. This is the reason why these Freedom Awards are not just a celebration, but they're a call to action. That's what the Wroclaw Global Forum was this year. It's a real call to action. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining tonight's ceremony. Stay with us throughout the year, and we hope to see you again next year. Thank you so much, and thank these awardees.